This is Donald Trump's nightmare. Ohio is turning blue. Just how unpopular are you, Donald, in Ohio? The latest polling has you at a net negative 12.7. At least the latest Economist poll shows that in Ohio, once viewed as a relatively safe red state, a state that Donald Trump has won over and over, he's now net negative 12.7. And if you just look at some of the data right now, you see why Donald Trump is so unpopular. He's ripped away people's health care. Prices are surging. There is a jobs recession. There is a manufacturing recession. The people in Ohio are suffering right now. And ever since Donald Trump launched his unlawful war against Iran, things are getting worse in Ohio. So Ohio is now 2 or 3 in the entire country in the quickest and biggest rise in gas prices since the prior week at about 46 cents per gallon. And this has been surging and surging and surging. That number is even higher from when this data was aggregated last. Ohio's gas prices virtually unaffordable for many people at this point. So you also look at some of the other data points about data centers. As the Crew investigation found, data centers in Ohio are spiking utility prices. And the main developers of these data centers in Ohio that are screwing people over, MAGA Republicans, you guessed it, Donald Trump's business partners with Donald Trump's family. And then you also have one of the biggest corruption trials taking place right now in Ohio, the First Energy corruption trial, big criminal case. All of the MAGA Republicans there are tied to it. MAGA Republicans in the state and the state Senate and the state House there. The former lieutenant governor, who's now a United States Senator, John Husted, had connections with this First Energy scheme. He had to testify recently, although he said he couldn't go back to testify in person at this criminal trial. He had to testify virtually. Lots of MAGA Republican local politicians had actually been convicted in Ohio. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in bribes that MAGA Republicans are involved in. You want to look at the governor's race right now in Ohio. Take a look right here. You have Amy Acton, who's appeared many times on the MeidasTouch podcast. I've interviewed her. What an incredible candidate she is. The latest EMC research poll has her leading Vivek Ramaswamy, the MAGA Republican candidate for governor, 53 to 43%. Shock poll. Amy Acton right now up 10 points in the governor's race. A Democrat up 10 points in the governor's race in Ohio. We've been seeing this trend across the country. We're seeing it in Ohio. Also, in the United States Senate race, you have Sherrod Brown, 51%, former Democratic senator there, who's now running against John Husted, who's linked to that First Energy scandal as well. He hasn't been accused of wrongdoing, but he testified in that case, and he was, someone who was a reliable ally of First Energy, and they gave him a lot of money for his campaign. Definitely smells very fishy, we'll just say that. But you have Sherrod Brown beating John Husted. And by the way, you want to know the types of things that John Husted said? He says, people who live in poverty in this state, in Ohio and elsewhere, they're just not experienced people. They don't understand the way money works. And that's why they're poor to begin with, because they just don't get money. What are you talking about? They are being preyed upon by the Epstein class, by people like you, by people who throw up these data centers, by all of these billionaires who are depriving them of having fair wages with dignity, with rights. It's people like you, Husted. Here's what Husted said. Here, play this clip.
And people living in poverty are just not very, experienced at navigating the real world, right? I remember talking to one young lady who said, well, I don't really know how money works at a grocery store because she grew up and has lived all of her adult life using SNAP cards to buy groceries. And so you literally have to teach people how to budget. If this the buzzword today, let's face it, it's affordability, right?
Now, Donald Trump went to Ohio this past week. He was there in Cincinnati on March 11th he was at a plant to talk about Trump RX, his pharmaceutical scam where he pretends that he's reducing drug prices, but in fact, they're actually not changing at all. And in fact, as you know, people in Ohio, like the rest of the country, have been kicked off their Affordable Care Act plans, and healthcare costs are absolutely surging right now. So just take a look at this headline from the local Fox 8 in Cleveland, Ohio. Trump visits Ohio to downplay war's effect on the economy. What a ridiculous headline also. I mean, I guess that's what he did, but he's going to Ohio where people are suffering to downplay the war's effect. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, here he is at the Thermo Fisher Scientific Center in Ohio saying that, this war is just an excursion. It's not a big deal. It's just an excursion. Play this clip.
And we did a little excursion. We had to take this little few weeks of excursion, but it's been incredible. Our military is unbelievable, the job they're doing. I would say, to put it mildly, way ahead of schedule. We've knocked out their Navy, their military in all forms. We've knocked out just about everything there is, including their leadership. Twice. We knocked out twice their leadership. And now they have a new group coming up. Let's see what happens to them. But 47 bad years we suffered with them, not only us, the rest of the world. And we're doing our job. So we had to take an excursion, but it's doing well. The market's holding up well. I figured we'd be hit a little bit, but we were hit probably less than I thought, and we'll be back on track in a pretty short while. Prices are coming down very substantially. Oil will be coming down.
Then he spoke to that local 12 Cincinnati channel, and he goes, there's never been a better year than what we're experiencing right now. This is the best year ever in the history for any president. I've stopped 8 wars. I'm about to stop 9. He's bragging about the Iran war, and that's going to be the 9th war that he stops. What the hell are you talking about? He goes, the market is booming. Things are great. I mean, you heard him in the prior clip also, right? It's an excursion. The markets are booming. Not sure what world you're living in, Donald, but people are suffering from every aspect of this economy, and the markets aren't booming. What are you talking about? But here's what he said to the local Cincinnati channel. Play this clip.
We're doing a great job. There's never been a better year for a president. I mean, I've been rated. There has never been a better year for a president first year than what we had. That includes the stoppage of 8 wars with a 9th to come. And what we've done, the economy is roaring. It's phenomenal. That's why I'm here. This is an excursion, a little excursion, and I think it's only that. And in that little time, that short period of time, we've taken care of business. We took care of a country that was very dangerous, very bad, would have had a nuclear weapon if it weren't for me and the B-2 bombers and what we did not very long ago. They would have had a nuclear weapon and we would have had levels of problem that nobody has ever seen before.
Got a crowd in Northern Kentucky.
Now I want to bring in the Democratic Congresswoman Emilia Sykes from Ohio's 13th congressional district. Now, Emilia's serving her 2nd term right now, and she's faced some of the most competitive races in Trumpy districts. Ohio's 13th is a real swingy district, and she's been able to win over and over again. She was also the minority leader in the Ohio House. She's someone who's been shown incredible leadership in the House of Representatives, and she was an incredible state leader as well. And everybody's saying that the midterms run through Ohio's 13th congressional district. And look, she shows how you can win in Ohio in a swing district over there, as she's done it before. Let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Emilia Sykes. Congresswoman, it's great to see you. I always think we look at the district you represent in Ohio. I always think it's fascinating to highlight it because so many people are looking at how can Democrats flip red districts or appeal to voters in quote unquote Trump districts, especially now as we see this exodus away from Trump and MAGA who feel betrayed. I would say that you know a little bit more than a thing or two about how to do that. So I want to kind of pick your brain about that. And, the election's obviously coming up in the midterms. But first, I think we just start by talking about where we are just in this kind of current moment, with this unlawful war against Iran that is raging without congressional authorization, with the constant barrage of lies, with its impact in terms of the human cost of lives, the injuries and the wounded that Trump continues to kind of cover up, and the impact on our economy with people already struggling at Ohio's 13th and frankly across this country. So just talk to us just about, this kind of current moment where you see things right now from your position as a congresswoman from the 13th.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. First of all, I think what I always want folks to understand about the activities in the Middle East, and particularly the way that Trump decided that we were waging war, is not just the fact that it's illegal, it's unconstitutional, he didn't go through the proper protocols. Set that part aside. We have people all across this country who are struggling to make ends meet. They're trying to figure out how they're going to feed their kids or make rent or their mortgage payment. But for some reason, our attention is turned on another part of the world, and hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars will be spent fighting this war, where people here in this country are losing their Medicaid coverage, losing their Affordable Care Act healthcare subsidies, their taxes are sky high, and there really isn't anything done for the American people who are just trying to survive day to day. So our biggest issue is trying to refocus and remind people that people care, and there are elected officials who care about your daily living situations and have solutions in order to make your life much easier to live and much more comfortable to live.
Let's just talk about, though, how you've lived those principles when you were, in the Ohio House, when you were the minority leader in the Ohio House, leading that, running for the seat in Congress, and how you ran a campaign in a Trump district where, what was it, $20 million, thrown into, these races to try to defeat you. And you managed to, what was it? Because I think a lot of Democrats are looking for that formula. And just set aside the term Democrats, because I think some of the problems are when we gamify the situation. It's like, how do we connect with human beings right now and just look a human being in the eye, not even as a Democrat, just as a human being to a human being, and
Right.
say, I got you. And them say, you know what, I trust you, versus you're just some politician who's out there for my vote, and you're going to do what Trump did, or you're going to do what politicians usually do to us.
So I call my district the birthplace of champions. And you will probably appreciate this, especially being from the West Coast. But LeBron James was born in my district, and Steph Curry also was born in my district as well, as the same hospital. And I also represent the NFL Football Hall of Fame. So we talk a lot about sports here. And I was a former gymnast, and I did gymnastics in some of my ads. And one of the reasons why I emphasize that, one, the birthplace of champions is really an homage to not just the basketball players who are from this area, but the everyday people who champion issues like environmental rights, women's rights, workers' rights, all the wonderful things that have made this community so great. So they are the champions. But also, talking about sports in Northeast Ohio is sort of like the great equalizer. We can all, complain about and connect over the Browns' typical losing season. And if you can articulate that to someone, you can kind of see their guards start to drop. And then we can then start talking about, why the season tickets are so high. And then also why you can't afford them. And also, what about your health care? And so for me, it's been a way to connect with folks on a very easy level, because, it's sports, and it allows folks to see me as their neighbor, their friend, just like anyone else. And it really, really gives me the ability to connect with folks, like you said, on a human to human level. I've been representing this area for over a decade, and folks have known and gotten to know me as a servant leader who will roll up their sleeves and do any of the hard jobs right alongside anyone in this community. And that really gives me a lot of credibility. And folks believe me when I say things to them. And I'm very, very direct and honest. Sometimes that can cut both ways, but part of how I work through it is just showing up in places. I'm at volleyball games, I'm at basketball games and football games. You'll see me in the grocery store. I'm at church, I'm at temple, and like, just come say hi, come tell me what's going on. Even if you don't like something, people tell me what they don't like all the time, even in grocery store aisles. But I'm still here and I'm a part of the community, and they know that above all else, I am. I am invested because I live here too. My family lives here too. And this is a community that I deeply care about. And that really does resonate with a lot of people.
Right. So you ran in 2022, 2024. I mean, when I say they threw the kitchen sink at you,
Yeah,
I,
tell me about it.
I mean, like literally the MAGAs created all these super PACs that like literally invested what could support companies of thousands of people, except they were ads of you attacking you every
Yeah.
single day. And I just think, what that must be like on the receiving end. I mean, like you live in your life and you're like, literally all they're doing is lying about me and defaming me every single day in Ohio, in a red state, in a district that very well could, is known as a swing district, and beating that and winning and prevailing. So now here you are though, and you've had two great terms where you've been in Congress. And now here we approach these midterms, and they're going to do it again because control of the Congress, runs through the 13th, as people have always said before. So talk to us though about here we are in 2026, these midterms, how big of a deal it is right now. And as you tour the 13th, what are you hearing from the people?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to say the line that you hear from everyone. This is the most important election of our lifetime. And I think we're going to continue to say that every election because the stakes get higher and higher and the challenges get larger and we have to engage even more. I'm going to go back very quickly, briefly to the previous elections because you're absolutely right. The amount of crazy that came from the airways, in our mailboxes, on the radio was literally insane. And between the two elections in 2022 and 2024, nearly $50 million was spent just on this race. And we kind of fly under the radar because most folks make assumptions about particularly Black women Democrats that we're in safe districts and we don't need the resources or the help. But $50 million is a lot of money for two election cycles. And, I'll tell a quick story. My husband and I got married in September before my first election, which also was a choice, but we survived that. But I had family and friends coming in from out of town, and I had to warn them, like, don't turn on your TV because all you're going to see are commercials about me, and it's going to make you upset. And some people heeded the advice, some people did not, and those who did not said, "Oh my goodness, what is happening? And why did you decide to get married now? Isn't this messing with your mental state?" And I'm like, not really, but it is challenging to see it and knowing how much work I had been doing to support this community, blatantly twisting my record. But really, what we know is that's how the Republicans who do not have anything to run on, they just lie. They cheat and they lie. And we are well aware of what's going to happen. We're prepared for it. And we're especially prepared for it this election cycle because we have to take back the House. This is not a must do or would be nice to do. It would be great if we could. We must do it in order to put a check on this current administration. The separation of powers and the checks and balances only work if everyone is working to do that. But right now, especially the House is absolutely refusing to engage in our constitutional responsibility because the leadership is basically run by President Trump. And so we have to put some type of sanity back into our federal government. And the only way we're going to do it is by taking the House back. So Ohio 13th District is a part of that formula. We are a must-win district. As Leader Jeffrey says, you can't add by subtracting. So we have to keep all of our incumbents. We just need to add 3 more seats. Well, at this point, maybe 1. It depends on how many Republicans drop out before the end of the year. But it is a must win. And it's why you see so many of us engaging and working so hard to get the message out, to talk about how we're lowering costs, making sure healthcare is accessible, and really rooting out this corruption in the federal government because people in America deserve so much better than what they're getting.
In a swingy district, are you seeing differences even in how people view this administration? Like, are you seeing it when you're traveling around, whether it's through the cover up of the Epstein files, whether it's the fact that healthcare is being ripped away from people, whether it's that Trump can say all he wants, that manufacturing is doing great, but we know actually, if you look back from the first time Donald Trump started imposing his tariffs against the world in 2018, I saw a study as if you removed healthcare jobs, you'd actually have a net loss of about 400,000 manufacturing jobs if you didn't add the increase of healthcare jobs, like generally, or some stat that was so shocking to me when I was looking at it. But we are, everyone's by all saying, kind of in a jobs recession caused by. Are you seeing people when you're traveling, just maybe people who weren't there with you last time are now saying, you know what? We need you now more than ever. That's the core group there, but some of the other folks.
So that's an interesting question. So Ohio's 13th district is the most evenly divided by the top of the ticket. So let me explain. There are about 140 votes that separated Vice President Harris and Donald Trump in the election. And so that was a really, really slim margin. It's statistically non-significant. And so we get a lot of whiplash in this district. I could go in, and literally it's a 50-50 chance. If I'm talking to one person on my right, I'll hear one thing and I'll literally turn around and someone else says something very different. And I would say that there are people who are experiencing a little bit of buyer's remorse, but ultimately, the folks who are with Trump, and the folks who are not. And then there's a little bit of the mushy middle who they like some of it, they don't like all of it, they don't like how it's happening. And so that is a really a challenging aspect about this district, but it's a reality of this is where we are in the country. So when I am communicating with the district, I am talking about the things that they care about the most. We've even surveyed folks, and it is protecting Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. It is lowering costs, it's fighting corruption, and it's our housing crisis. And so I focus on what people ask me to focus on, and that allows me to really get into at least the door with some of these folks to the point where, maybe they'll say, we won't vote for you, but we won't vote against you. And I can live with that. We can live with that. But the one thing I'll say, because you mentioned healthcare jobs, and my district is very unique in the sense that healthcare is our largest employer, period. And it supports directly over 30,000 jobs. And then you talked about the manufacturing jobs or the other jobs that lead into it. Like they have to buy toilet paper from someplace. Someone is doing maintenance on these facilities and caring for the actual physical building. And those are usually local jobs. And so if the healthcare industry goes under in my district, people won't have jobs. It won't just be they won't have healthcare. They won't have jobs and our local economy will tank. So the one big ugly bill is massively devastating for places like Ohio's 13th district. And we are just even starting to see the negative impact of that and how folks are going to, unfortunately, lose their jobs while they're also losing their health care, which just means our communities struggle. So we're trying to explain this and tell everyone who's willing to listen, even those who are not, so that they can, one, be prepared. And then when they ask the question, well, why would something like this happen? And then we explain why. Then again, we're opening the door for the conversation of saying, perhaps you want to vote differently this time. And it's okay. If you did, we're here for you. Happy to accept you. But let's make sure we're righting the ship.
Congresswoman, where can people who do want to listen or who may want to listen or who are already listening, where can they learn more about the campaign? And if they want to learn more, where can they go?
Absolutely. They can visit Emilia Sykes for Congress.com, FOR, and you can learn about the things that we've been working on all the social media platforms on both my official side and unofficial side. And we are constantly sharing information. But I'm just really glad that there are people in this fight, and really appreciate you, Ben, for letting me share a little bit about my piece of heaven that I get to represent here in Ohio's 13th district.
Oh, well, we'll have to have you back on soon again. Congresswoman Sykes, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ben. Have a great day.
You too. Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.